Hey folks, it's your host I2I35, and welcome to another episode of the Correcting SolRosenberg84 series, where I plan on reviewing every single one of Mike's videos, all the way from the beginning till the end. Now this one is entitled Spirituality Does Not Equal Religion and Dogma, and this is what he has to say about it.
Hi folks, it's SolRosenberg84 here, and I know I promised
Hey Sol Rosenberg, we meet once again.
you this profound idea that spirituality must be linked to dogmatic belief and religion. And I'm sorry, but that's just not true.
I couldn't agree with you more, Sully. Basically, basically the gospel is far from religion. And basically, yes, religion happens to be some pathetic belief system where it contemplates things without proof or evidence. I couldn't agree with you more. And basically, religion and dogma are the last thing needed in the world. And here we go.
It's a state of mind. It happens inside your brain and only inside your brain. No magic man to poking you with his finger included in that explanation because it's superfluous, made-up crap.
Basically, superfluous, made-up garbage. I could show you whole slews of evidence that it was not made up. It happens to be reality. And you say no magic man poking around inside your head. Basically, God is not a man. He is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. He is basically the one who speaks to you all the time through books, through people, and so on.
But that's just not true. Personally, myself, I have never, ever received a spiritual feeling from sitting in a mass or talking about.
Yeah, you never received any spirit-filled, any of that spiritual feeling in a so-called House of Catholicism you're basically talking about. And the reason why you didn't feel anything about it is because you already shut God out and spat in his face a long time ago. And C.S. Lewis testifies the same thing, that he felt nothing in church because he was told that he should feel something. He said the pressure to feel freezes feelings.
Parents, Christianity and specific Catholicism.
I'm sorry, man, but you are really not understanding the proper determination. Catholicism is not Christian in any biblical or historical perspective. And I'm actually going to have to say this, but I'm glad that you left it, because it is actually the biggest pagan belief in the world, and basically Catholicism is basically a false church erected to counteract true Christian growth. And I'm glad you left it, but don't contemplate it with Christianity, because it is not what's truth.
Never gotten anything spiritual out of it. Never. In my entire life have I felt anything inside that building. All it ever really felt like to me, the church and such, was just a large building where we went and listened to a man in a pretty robe ramble on and on, ate a snack, and went home.
You're talking about priests. Basically, there are no priests in true Christianity. There are only pastors and preachers, and I'm glad you left it, because Catholicism is really a shallow faith at anything if it does come close to Christianity, because basically those who have King James Bibles and Baptist pastors, they preach the truth much more better, and basically it seems so vague to you that that's why you left it and thought it wasn't true. I feel so sorry for you, man, and I'm glad you left Catholicism, and that is basically a very shallow faith, and there's a history of many people leaving it, thankfully, because they were told evolutionism, and that destroyed their pagan faith, and all we have to do is get them back to understand the true meaning of a biblical worldview, and not let some imposter fool around with you people.
The only place I ever felt spiritual from, and that was hearing truths about reality. The moment I actually understood what...
Yeah, reality is exceptionally awesome, man. Basically, you know that God exists, the Lord exists, you ought to love your neighbor as yourself, and that God's fingerprint of creation is all over the place, and that there's archaeological evidence for the history going on, and how God has touched the lives of so many people.
Evolution truly meant. The moment I realized that all living things are related.
I'm sorry, man, but that is just not scientifically accurate. None other thing is related. Basically, instead of like none other than just the Bible already giving us a perfect line in the sand. All flesh is not the same flesh. There is one kind of flesh of men, another of beasts, another of birds, and another of fish. All flesh is not the same flesh. Basically, people, they are millions and millions of nucleotides apart from animals. And I understand why people like to think that they are animals as well. I don't know, perhaps it's because they think that animals have more rights than humans do, and they actually want to think that they are animals as well. But when do they start determining that we were distinctly apart from animals if we all supposedly evolved from the same amoeba? That's just not scientifically accurate. Basically, an amoeba would have died out soon enough. We all had to be created individually and then designed to reproduce after our own kind. But because of the curse of sin, there are many different looking species, and all the genes are being mixed up, and we're all like losing information, not gaining information.
Right there. Big moment. Looking at a tree and going, holy shit. And some crazy far off way, that tree is like connected to me, like extremely beyond, like long lost brother kind of way.
Basically, thinking that you are related to a tree is way beyond bizarre. We were told to be the stewards of this earth. We are basically given dominion over the earth. You are in no way related to a tree. The fact that you can walk, talk, have a sense of right and wrong, and spirituality, and know that there's a God out there who made you and loves you, and that you have this spirituality because Paul said himself when he was preaching to the evolution-believing Greeks, God created us in a way that we should feel after him and understand that he is out there and that he isn't far from any one of us.
So much more interesting and so much more empowering than any dogma throw at me. I mean,
I'm sorry, man, but the gospel is not dogma. Religion is.
You can tell me that Jeebus grows in the desert for days.
His name is Jesus. Why do you keep saying Jeebus? That just doesn't make any sense.
Some other ancient fairy tale compared to...
You just always slam the saying, oh, fairy tale on it, because you have decided to not even study the true historical evidence for it, and that it was actually a historical thing and not made up. You're really underestimating Jewish intelligence.
And it deeply saddens me that it's totally lost to so many people.
Because they are common-sensed and understand that some religion of naturalism is basically not what we see in reality. And I'm glad there are a lot of people who don't adhere to this dangerous, dying, depressing, fallacious, erroneous worldview that you try to defend all the time, but basically it's not going to work. And here we go, more.
I don't understand people who find spirituality through sitting there and listening to a man in a colored robe.
No, not a man in a colored robe. Basically, it'd have to be a pastor. Basically, Catholicism is not Christian in any way, and basically there's no such thing as priests in Christianity. They're only pastors and preachers. They're only priests in the Jewish religion going into the tabernacle. And you say, oh, what he says. Basically, Catholicism is a pagan religion which doesn't preach the gospel anywhere near perfect, and basically that's why a lot of people are leaving it, and thankfully, and adhering to evolution, we're going to have to get them back to the true gospel.
SolRosenberg84 signing out. Keep on thinking.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say this. I am thinking a lot. Basically, folks like you, I'm going to have to say this, no offense, but you've been only told what to think, not how to think. Thinking, basically, like, you think you can think critically. Basically, I'm going to have to say this, you don't know how to think at all. You're just only told what to think, not how to think. It's obviously you've just gotten that from a textbook, alright? So, I2I35 signing out, and Jesus bless you, everyone.